Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Episode number 20 of the vlog. Real quick before we get started, just want you guys to start thinking about some questions. I'm thinking for episode 25, I want to throw a little Q&A in there. So if you have questions about me or how I got involved in poker or my decision making or whatever, start thinking of those questions. I'm going to ask you to drop them in the comments soon. As always, if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Here's the metrics. And as you can see, there are a lot of you who are viewing, but you're not subscribed. Please hit the subscribe button. It will help my channel grow. It will allow me to play more. Now, let's get to it. In this first hand of the night, we're in +2 when we look down at pocket deuces. The player under the gun calls and it folds to me. I go ahead and toss in a call. The hijack has other ideas though. He raises to $10. The small blind makes the call. The under the gun player makes the call. So I decide to go ahead and call as well. We're off to a flop 4 ways. The flop is ace deuce 5, so I flop bottom set. The action checks to me and I put out a bet for $15. The hijack is my only caller, so we're off to the turn. The turn is a 10 of hearts, shouldn't really change anything. I bet out for $28 here on this card, and once again my opponent calls, so we're off to the river. The river is a 9 of spades, bringing in the flush. So assuming he doesn't have one, what amount can I bet that will get an ace to call on this type of board? I settle on a bet of $45. My opponent's thinking, he looks like he wants to fold, so I try to start looking a little bit nervous. He takes a look over at me and then pretty quickly makes the call afterwards. I show my hand, and we're good here. We're on the button this time, and we look down at pocket jacks. There's one call before the action gets to me, and I'm going to bump it up to $16. It folds around to the hijack, who reluctantly calls. I think his name is Craig. He and I are going to mix it up a lot today. We're off to the flop with Craig, heads up. The flop is 10-7-4 with 2 clubs. Craig checks it over to me, and I continue on for another $35. Craig doesn't think too long, and then he folds. We make a seat change, and now we're in the small blind, and we have ace 10 of hearts. There are 3 callers before the action gets to me, and I decide I want to put a raise in. As I'm announcing my $12 raise, the big blind actually bets out $12 himself out of turn. He did this literally as I was putting the bet together. So, I raise to 12. He obviously calls, as do all 3 original limpers. We're off to a flop 5 ways.
What the hell just happened?
I
don't want to play with this sorcerer at the table.
some arrows.
What the hell was that?
The flop is ace 10-6 with 2 spades. I check, looking for somebody to throw a bet out and build the pot, but nobody does, and the action checks all the way through. The turn is a 4 of hearts. Given that nobody bet the flop, I go ahead and bet out $25 here on this turn card. The big blind who bet out of turn earlier then shows me his hand, pocket queens, with like 3 other people in the hand. Listen.
Hey, you can't show me
scared
that.
me away.
Can't show me that.
I didn't show him.
You did. You did. You flagged it directly at him. These cards have been.
I mean, I know what they are.
Okay, yeah. Oh, Queen of Hearts, Queen of Clubs. They're in the mud. Yeah,
Obviously, I wanted to be honest and inform the table that I saw it and have a clear advantage over them. So the dealer does show everybody the cards. Craig and the hijack calls.
Oh, the tightest guy on the table called?
So we're off to a river, heads up. Ironically, the river, a queen of spades, but it brings in the flush. On this board, I know I can rule out pocket queens, but Craig could in fact have a flush, so I bet out $40 on the river. I want a bet amount that will allow an ace to call even though there's 3 spades on the board.
I can't count. Hold on a second.
Oh my God, just announce it.
Craig then min raises me to $81, and I go into the tank here. This is a very tight player, and this min raise just screams value. But I think for only $41 more, my hand is just way too strong to fold. So I call. I tell him to show me the flush, and he tells me he doesn't have it, and then I win. I show my hand, and I am in fact good. This was a turning point for me. After the table realized the way this hand went down and the kind of call I made, the dynamics of the table really started to shift. We're in the big blind now, and we look down at ace-jack of spades. Everybody, with the exception of one player, makes the call, and so obviously $2 is not going to be enough to continue. I put in the raise to $25, and everybody folds. We're in the button now, and we look down at pocket jacks. There's one caller before I bump the action up to $15, and everybody folds.
Everybody's so scared.
So damn much.
We'll try this from the hijack this time. We look down at ace jack of hearts. There are two callers before I bump it up to 14. The cutoff makes the call, and another late position player calls. We're off to the flop three ways. The flop is 9-10 jack all club, so flop top pair on a monotone board here. The action checks to me. I bet out for $30. Both my opponents fold, and I win again. We're in under the gun now, and we look down at 6-7 of spades. I open up the action for $12. The big blind is my only caller, and he checks dark, so we're off to the flop. The flop is 8-9 jack with two hearts. Since he checked to me, I bet out for $15, and he says he can call $15, so he does. We're off to the turn. The turn is a 4 of diamonds, bringing a second flush draw out there. Once again, my opponent checks to me, and so I lead out for $35 here, and he pretty quickly folds. I decided to go ahead and show my hand, hoping to force a little bit of future action, and he actually tells me he folded Jack 10. So, having that aggression and the table image that I have, I was able to push him off the better hand. And a hand I have no footage for, we're in the small blind and we have pocket kings. There's one early position caller, and I raised to $12 this time, trying to size down a little bit for some action, but they all fold. So at this point, I've been playing about 2.5 hours, and I've got my stack up around $470. I thought to myself, this has been a good session. I have some content to make a pretty good vlog, and I actually considered leaving. But then I started thinking, I have footage to make a pretty good vlog, but not a great vlog. So I decided I'll play until 7 o'clock, get a full 3 hours in, and then call it a day. How costly of a decision that would prove to be. We were in +2 when we looked down at pocket nines. Craig in under the gun opens the action up for $19. It's a little large for an under the gun raise. When the action folds to me, I actually consider re-raising pre-flop to really put pressure on an ace-x hand, but for whatever reason, I just elected to call here. Everyone else folds, so we're off to a flop heads up. The flop is deuce 7 ace rainbow. Craig checks it over to me, and I continue on for $35 here. Again, really trying to put pressure on ace-x hands and low pocket pairs. Craig ends up making the call, so we're off to the turn. The turn is a 3 of clubs, so it brings a club flush draw in. Craig checks it over to me, and I decide to go ahead and check this card back for a little bit of pot control. The river is a blank, doesn't change anything. The flush also misses, but Craig decides to lead out on the river and bet $55 here. Given that it went check call on the flop and then he checked the turn, it feels a lot less like ace-x and more like a middle pocket pair or maybe jacks or queens. If that's the case, then I think I need to raise. I can represent the ace and get jacks or queens to fold. But for whatever reason, I'm really hesitant to pull the trigger, or maybe I'm just convinced that he has 5s or 6s or 8s, and so I just make the call. Craig actually tells me that I must have them, and he flips over pocket 10s for the better pair. I show my hand, and the table lets out a collective groan. The correct play here is to definitely raise that river, especially if I want to fold out a hand like 10s. I don't know if it would have worked because he says that he knew I didn't have the ace just like I knew he didn't have it. My read was right. He didn't have the ace. It's a little bit of bad play and a little bit of a cooler. In the very next hand, we're in +1 and we look down at ace-5 of clubs. It folds to me and I open the action for $15. There's a call from the button and then Craig in the big blind raises to $51. Action's back on me. Craig then actually says he thought the guy to my right opened the action and didn't realize it was me.
Oh, that was you. I thought it was this guy's 15.
Oh, it's me.
I looked at that wrong.
I'm a little tilted over how I played that last hand by not 3-betting pre-flop and not raising the river. It should be obvious that he's not going to make this play from the big blind with anything less than jacks, but it's most likely queens or better. I tank for a solid minute thinking about my options. This screams fold. Get out. You're only out $15. I could maybe just call the raise to see a flop to see if I can catch something, but folding is the very obvious action here.
I'm gonna raise.
Wait, what? That's not in the plan. This is a fold. What are you doing?
150.
Oh, The button folds and Craig instantly shoves all in for 247 total. This is exactly what I feared. It's $97 more to win about 400, so I'm getting 4-1 on a call.
Why do I video this stupid game and put it on YouTube for people to watch?
And so for those odds, I have to call. The board runs out and I end up rivering a pair of fives. To what should be no surprise at all, Craig flips over pocket kings and wins the hand. 2.5 hours of what felt like pure dominance to all come crashing down in about 7 minutes. I play another orbit, and after donking off a few more chips, frustrated and defeated, I decide to call it a day.
All right, so episode 20 in the books. It's what a f***ing feeling to absolutely just to make one good call and to absolutely dominate the table. I mean, I felt like I was feared at one point. I could have raced with anything and people were folding. And to play like that for a little over 2 hours, and then in the end, to just dump it all back and then some. I mean, the pocket nines versus the pocket tens hand on the ace high board, I made the right read. He did not have an ace. This was what I thought was going to be my second good call against him, and that didn't work out. Just a little bit of a cooler situation, you know. And then the very next hand, when he 3-bets me, I've played with that guy enough. I should know that he's definitely strong there, and I shouldn't make that 4-bet because the amount I raised to, you know, obviously he's going to shove there, and I kind of feel priced in to call, and he's got a lot of balls for saying you're probably ahead. What a bummer. What a bummer. But I put these out there so that people can maybe hopefully learn. You know, at 6:30, I said, man, I've got enough good content. I could make a vlog out of this, book a win. Considered leaving, thought, no, I'll play a little bit more. And then at 6:45, I said, okay, I'll play till 7. And I should have just gotten up at 6:45. I am so bad about that. When your brain tells you to get up from the table, get up. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I didn't particularly enjoy it. Drop a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more poker content. And you can follow me on Instagram at 7cardflushpoker.